Fall is in the air. The calendar turns to October, and it's opening weekend at Keeneland Racecourse. Let's find some picks and plays for opening Saturday. Hey, welcome into Trust the Profits. My name is Tim. You can find me on X Twitter at RidersUpTim. I am just going to jump into it. We got a big card as we open up racing at Keeneland on Friday. I'm going to go over the Saturday card, 11 great races. I'm going to talk about 5 of them, some plays that I've got for Fall Stars weekend. Here we go. Let's jump straight in. I'm going to start out here in race 2. That is where we're going to find my first play of the day. My top pick in here, I'm going to go to the 1 States Rights. Pretty chalky, but I'll talk about that here in a second. This horse is going to be tough to beat if he runs back to the race that he ran back in July at Saratoga. But to me, that's the question here, is a little bit of a layoff. Had a great second in that race. Why has this horse been off since then? Maybe they were pointed to here. That was on the turf at 1 1/16, was closing up and just beaten by a head. So does the horse even want the cut back to a mile? I'm not sure. So if he does, you have to consider him. That's why I put him on top. But let's talk about my value pick, number 2, Anagata here. This horse for John Ennis gets Edgar Morales up. 15-1 morning line. And this horse, I think, is really interesting in this position. Coming out of a Kentucky Downs race, maiden special weight, 109,000 there, where the horse was on the lead, cutting some pretty serious fractions, and then just gave out to look to the cross there in the stretch in that race. I've watched this race and looked at these numbers a couple of times. I honestly don't get the speed figures here. If I look at the times in that race, I think that this horse is competitive with anybody in this field. I look at not only the numbers there, but the works. I think that this horse has been working pretty well. He looks to be ready. John Ennis has his horses typically ready to run when he runs them here at Keeneland in the fall. So that line at Kentucky Downs, the one thing about those, if you're familiar with that racetrack and the undulations and the uphills, a mile there is probably a little, plays more like 1 1/16 race. And that's why in this position, if you look just fading there, so let's say just faded in the 1 1/16 and is going to like the mile a little better. I like that horse a lot in here. There are a couple other horses just to quickly mention. Battle Drum, the 4 horse for Todd Pletcher, gets Johnny V up. That race at Saratoga was coming from pretty far back. That's the one thing I don't like. I do think with the connections, this is Pletcher and Rapoli. I do think that this horse is going to be closing late, but whether or not that last race closed up on 1 1/16, whether or not he can close at a mile with some of the pace that we're going to have in here, I'm not so sure he can get up for the win, but can maybe get a minor share underneath. Another one of those horses that I look at similarly is the 5 in here. That's Culture War for Robert Medina, getting Tyler Gaffleon. It's hard to omit any Gaffleon ridden horse here at Keeneland. If you know, he's right there fighting for the rider's title, meet in and meet out. So I'm sure he's going to want to get off to a great start here on Fall Stars weekend. And I think that this is a horse we have to include underneath. My plays for this race, I really like the 2 in this race a lot. But I am going to play, just go ahead and box those top 2 horses, the 1 and the 2 in here. And then for a trifecta, I'm going to play the 1 and 2, wheel those 2 on top for first and second with the 4 and the 5 for third. Moving on to race number 5 in here. This is a optional claiming event. 6 furlongs on the dirt for 2-year-olds. We have quite a few baby races. The biggest race on the day, the grade 1 that we'll get to in a minute, is another 2-year-old. So that's why they call it Fall Stars weekend, building up to the Breeders' Cup. A lot of the win and you're in type races this weekend, a lot of 2-year-old races on Saturday, and we've got a couple of good ones here. This one, is not quite up to the par of the best horses that are going to be racing on Saturday, but there are a couple of interesting plays in here. The 5 Sexagenarian for Mike Maker is setting at a morning line of 7-2. Gets Ricardo Santana Jr. up. I actually like this move from Jaime Torres. I love the way Santana rides Keeneland. I think that he gives a horse an honest ride. I think that this is another one as we look coming out of Kentucky Downs. And as I mentioned, I think Kentucky Downs just plays a little longer. I like the cutback. So he's cutting back in distance and cutting back from Kentucky Downs. It's almost like a double cutback, if you will. I just think that this is a horse at 7-2 that I think has to be included on your tickets. And I like this horse a lot on top. Looks to be in form, working well, has a couple works since that race, and they look pretty good on paper. Looking at my value pick in here, I almost put this horse on the top line here as my top pick, and still may be. I absolutely love this horse. The 7 Kieran morning line of 4-1, the Jose D'Angelo barn, getting Florangelo up. Another one coming out of Kentucky Downs. That race might not look like much, but let's back up and start at the beginning. This horse opened up in a 5 furlong race at Gulfstream Park, maiden special weight, winning first time off the bench, and then goes to the turf, 5 furlongs, pretty even race, not horrible. Then goes to a mile at again on the turf at Kentucky Downs, and I'm not sure that's what this horse wants. Gets back to the dirt now. That's probably the right place. But here's the thing that really stands out. That 29 September work at Keeneland, bullet work, 45-2. That was 2 seconds faster than anybody else ran 4 furlongs that day. Monster fast workout. I just look for this horse to really be closing. The D'Angelo barn is really hot right now. Out of his last 11 starts, he's got 9 horses in the money, 4 of those wins. I love Kieran in this place, and I like the price at 4-1 even more. The 280 West in here is another horse, another Gaffleon ridden horse. I wanted to include underneath as I was looking. I went back and forth with this horse, but it's another one just coming off a maiden special weight win. So obviously stepping up a little bit, but against these optional claiming $100,000 race, it's not that big of a move forward. This is a horse for Dallas Stewart that could figure underneath. The speed figures put this horse right there. My problem with this horse is I think that he wants to be on the lead. There's other speed in here. Jackson's Roar just outside that one is obviously another speed horse. That looks okay, but that was in Belterra. And I going back and looking at that and who the horse ran against, I'm going to need to see a race against bettor before I'm willing to take that line at what it looks like. So I'm just going to play against the 3 in here, but I am just going to keep it to an exacta, but I'm going to key that 7. I'm going to play an exacta key box 7 over and under the 2 and the 5 in race 5. For the next one, we'll move right to the next race. This is the first of the 5 graded stakes races at Keeneland this Saturday. This is the grade 2 Woodford Stakes. It's on the turf at 5.5 furlongs for 3-year-olds and up for a purse of $350,000. And I've got a horse I really like in here on top, and that's the 4 Hour Shot, sitting at a morning line of 4-1 for John Terranova, getting Luis Saez back up. Saez has ridden this horse last 2 times out. This is a horse that seems to really fit in this position. I like the numbers. I just think that this horse coming with that the speed figures of that last race are tops in the field. And I just think that this horse is one that is really going to be a part of our top 2 positions in here. For my value pick, I'm going to go outside to the 10 Arzak. This is a horse who ran against Our Shot last out in that Saratoga race. And this horse finished a decent 4th in there. But the thing about this horse that I really like is he's 2 for 2 at Keeneland. Being a person from Keeneland, growing up in Lexington, Keeneland's the track that I grew up on, where I learned this game and fell in love with it. And I would just say that I definitely believe in horse for the course at Keeneland. This horse seems to love Keeneland. has had two great races there. And again, we're sitting here in the Woodford Stakes, and this is your Woodford Stakes winner from last year. So coming back, trying for a repeat, another one with a really good bullet work, 47-3 back on the 28th. So coming into the race, looks to be in great form. And this is one that I think will be closing late. Jaime Torres gets up on this one, whether or not he picked this one or what happened. And that's why he ended up here. He has ridden this horse in the past, but I like him in this spot. Again, I'm just going to box those two. I look at everybody else. There are a couple in here. I get it. I wouldn't talk you off any of the horses. Super Quest, None Hudson. There's some decent names in here, but looking at it and going through it, I just really like those two horses a lot. One thing I failed to mention about the 4 when I was talking about Our Shot is in these turf sprint races at Keeneland, there is a serious statistical advantage to those middle post positions, 3 through 5 or 6. And this horse being in the 4 hole, I love a lot coming out of that position. Those horses seem to do well in these races, and hopefully we can do as well with that pick. Moving on to race 8. This is the Grade 1 First Lady Stakes on the turf at a mile distance for a purse of $750,000. Fillies and mares, 3-year-olds and up. And just look at the names in this field. Some really tough ones. So you got Fluffy Socks. We've got an Ireland Invader, Tarara here. Safine the 3. The 4 is Gina Romantica. Walkathon the 5. Evie Jets. We have the 9 Implicated. Ag Bullet. White Beam. So we've got Chili Flag, one I omitted, forgot to mention as I was going down the horses here. But this is a really tough field. But once again, I'm going to use my my Keeneland angle here, and I'm going to go to the 4 Gina Romantica. This is a horse, another horse who seems to like the Keeneland racetrack. 2 for 3, 2 wins out of 3 races on the Keeneland turf. This is a horse who last year in this race, the First Lady Stakes, Gina Romantica won this last fall, then comes back in the spring and has a decent race in the Jenny Wiley. Doesn't look like as much on there, but started out was a little bit wanting to go in that race, and I think hasn't looked like as much this year, but I think loves Keeneland. I think this horse may be waking up. I like the move to Jose Ortiz. He had a really good year at Keeneland back in the spring. Had a great meet at Keeneland. I like this move here, and I think that this horse is ready for a move forward after the layoff of the winter and the great fall that she had last year. We're going to take Gina Romantica on top. Going to move just outside that one for my price horse in here, my value play. That's the 5 Walkathon. BJ Hernandez getting up for Ian Wilkes. Don't ever leave an Ian Wilkes out of a Kentucky track if he's got a horse that looks like it might be a little bit of a price, because he normally brings them home. I got a good friend that he'll bet every Wilkes horse and cashes plenty of those tickets. But another one that's coming into the race, looks to be in good form, coming out of a great Kentucky Downs win against some really good horses in there. Horse has won his last 3 races, going back all the way back to the Distaff Mile back at Churchill, where she did run against Chili Flag. That was the last time she lost. But I think that this horse has now rounded into form. Really fits here. Got a great work on the 22nd of September. A nice bullet, 47-3 there. Just seems to be rounding into form. And I like the Kentucky Downs move, as you can probably tell from a couple of the horses I've favored here so far. So we're going to play this 5 to be a definite piece. I like the horse underneath a lot. Couple horses I think you can't leave out. We talked about all the great horses in here. The 8 Chili Flag, that race in the Diana, just didn't seem to be herself in that particular race. But you go back before that, she had won 3 straight and 4 out of 5. Let's throw out the Diana. They gave her a little bit of time off. What was something going on in this year, kind of coming out of a form cycle here. Is it that, or did she just need a break after the 3 wins? We'll see here, but why I'm playing the horse underneath and not on top at 6-1 for Chad Brown with Tyler Gaffley on up. You can see Chad Brown's got a bunch of runners in here. I believe it's 5, and ends up having 3 of my top 4 picks. So for my last one here, I'm going to go to the outside and the 11 White Beam in here. Florent Giroux getting up on this one. Another one who is coming into the race out of the Diana. This is the winner of that race. So basically shows that she can be competitive against this group, has races and wins against most of these horses, but was in that First Lady last year, and Gina Romantica got the best of her in there. And I think there was even a better horse in Italian in second. So, but White Beam does seem to be in form, has rounded into form, but you wonder about Giroux getting on here, the layoff since July. I think there's enough to question here. What happened in the Diana and whether or not she was just the best horse or the horse that ended up winning the race as a result of the way the race shaped up. And that happens a lot. Great speed figures there, but I'm just going to play against that one on top and put her underneath. I think she can definitely be there if she runs back. So we're going to play in race 8, an exacta box 4 or 5, and a trifecta key box. I'm going to key the 5, trying to get that 10-1 to be a place of the part of the trifecta somewhere in there with the 4, 8, and 11. Moving on to race 9. This is basically your feature race of the day. This is going to be the Grade 1 Clayburn Breeders' Futurity. This is for 2-year-olds and a purse of $600,000. And I absolutely love a horse in here. I think this is one of the favorites moving into the Breeders' Cup and the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. This is at least my favorite as we move into that race. One of the 2 I've really got my eye on as we move into the Breeders' Cup races here. But that's the 5 and East Avenue for Brendan Walsh, getting Tyler Gaffley on up. I do question this move a little bit. We were actually talking about this today on the cocktail lounge, and I'm a big fan of Luan Machado and how the guy is riding right now, and he did absolutely nothing wrong in this race at Ellis. Just basically went out to the lead, handridden all the way around, gear down in the stretch, and still won by 8 lengths. You could look at the field and say it wasn't much, and I would agree with you. I've gone back through, and I don't think any horse has come back and finished better than 4th in any race, and most of them much worse than that. But the speed figures say that it was legitimate, and I think this horse is legitimate. And looking at the way he won, I just think that this horse could be something special. So one I've got my eye on, have had since that race, and looking forward to seeing him run back, because obviously we'll move in to others that you have to consider here. And the one, Ferocious, is one that a lot of people are going to be on, probably going to be your favorite, is your 8-5 morning line favorite for Gustavo Delgado. This is a horse we all know how good that race looked in the beginning, and so many people love this horse into the hopeful that was bet down to an odds-on favorite. But that race, you go back and watch the race, and yes, the horse lost a shoe, and you can make some excuses and different things that went on. But this horse looked to be fading in the stretch, and I know Chancer McPatrick came along, and Ferocious did run along with Chancer McPatrick down the stretch in that race. But even with that, the numbers there, they weren't that great. The 7 furlongs, it was still a 1-turn race. Whether or not the horse moves forward on 2 turns, looking at the 5, I like the 5 moving to 2 turns a lot better than I do the 1 horse inside. I could be way wrong. The speed figures in the first race tower above this field, and I get that. But you tend to see that a lot on wet tracks, to where the speed figures are so much higher than a horse has run on the dry track. And I just don't know that I can believe anything here. So I'm going to chalk the great win up to the mud, and the 7 furlong race in the hopeful being more what this horse is right now. So it's a play against for me. It's a play underneath, right? I mean, I'm just trying to beat the horse. I wouldn't fault you if you like it. I get it. I get, $1,300,000 purchase and what Gustavo Delgado thinks of the horse. And the horse hasn't done anything terrific in my mind, but hasn't done anything wrong either. So I get it. If this horse is there, has a great work. That last bullet work at Saratoga looks really good. So this horse could be the real deal and come in and win. But I think East Avenue is. That's just my opinion. That's the way I'm going to play it. But I do have a price horse I'm going to play underneath and throw in here, and that's the 10 Dapper Moon. Looking outside at this horse, this is another one getting Ricardo Santana Jr. up. I've already talked about how I like him right in at Keeneland. This is a horse that, looking at those races, they're not bad at all. 6 furlongs, finishing a good second there, then comes back and wins at 7 furlongs. This horse to me wants the distance here. Wants to stretch out. I think a mile and a 16th is really what this horse wants, is going to move forward even off of that. Speed figures look really good compared to the rest of these. I'm not sure this horse is in a class with the 1 and the 5 here, but I still think it could be a part. And if either one of those horses falters and doesn't run his race, then this is one that I think could definitely be a part. So I'm going to play this one. I'm just going to key the 5 on top. I'm going to take my stance with the way that I see the race, and I'm going to play a trifecta key. I'm keying the 5 on top of the 1 and 10 underneath. There you have it. Those are my picks and plays for Saturday, the opening Saturday, Fall Stars weekend. First weekend of Keeneland. I will be out at the track. If you're on track, stop by, look me up. I will be there somewhere. Stop by and say hello. Make sure that you check out our other videos. We've got a full field rundown if you want for the Clayburn Breeders' Futurity. We're also going to have another video coming out here that's going to talk about all the 2-year-old races that are coming up on Saturday. There are 5 big ones across the country. 2 at Belmont at Aqueduct, 2 at Santa Anita, the 1 here at Keeneland. Keeneland's actually offering a pick 5 across those 5 2-year-old races. So that should be pretty exciting. Keep an eye out for that video where we will not only talk about those races, but put together a pick 5 ticket and put that out for you. So make sure you like the video. Go ahead and consider subscribing to the channel so that you are aware when all the content comes out. Drop me a comment. Let me know what your picks are for the day. Who do you like as far as the 2-year-olds? What are your thoughts about this battle between Ferocious and East Avenue? Just let me know what you think, and we will see you at the racetrack and await that call for Riders Up.